Is the European Union's $27 billion counterattack a bold defense or a risky gamble? The European Union has made a powerful move by launching a $27 billion retaliation package against the United States. But is this a strategic decision to protect its economic interests, or is it a dangerous escalation that could shake the global economy? With trade tensions already high, this latest development raises a crucial question. Is the world heading toward an all-out trade war? Trump's 2018 tariff decision and the fallout. In 2018, then-President Donald Trump made a controversial decision to impose steep tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, setting a 25% tariff on steel and a 10% tariff on aluminum. The goal was to reduce the trade deficit and protect domestic industries, reinforcing his America First policy. However, the decision did not come without consequences. The European Union, heavily involved in the export of steel and metals, quickly felt the economic strain of these tariffs. The move also strained U.S. relationships with other key trade partners, including Canada and China. While Trump's administration argued that these measures were necessary for national security and job protection, many economists and global leaders viewed them as a disruption of free trade. The EU, one of America's largest trading partners, was left with no choice but to consider countermeasures. For years, the EU had tried to negotiate a resolution, but as tensions continued to build, it became clear that action was inevitable. Now, with a well-calculated response, the European Union is sending a strong message. It will not be bullied into economic submission. The EU's $27 billion retaliation, targeting iconic American products. In response to U.S. tariffs, the EU has unveiled a massive $27 billion countermeasure package, specifically targeting key American industries. The EU's retaliation is not just about numbers. It is a carefully designed strategy to hit the U.S. where it hurts the most. The European Commission has identified high-value American products, including motorcycles, wine, agricultural goods, and technology products. By targeting these industries, the EU aims to apply economic pressure on American businesses and consumers, urging them to push for policy changes. This move is not only economic, it carries a strong political message. By choosing these specific industries, the EU is signaling that it will not be pushed around in global trade. If the U.S. does not change its approach, the EU has made it clear that more American products will be subjected to higher tariffs. The impact of these tariffs could be significant. As American businesses face rising costs, consumers will likely see price increases. Meanwhile, U.S. industries reliant on exports to the EU may suffer, leading to potential job losses and economic slowdowns. The U.S. reaction. Could this escalate into a trade war? Washington has responded swiftly, with U.S. officials warning that the EU's decision could harm both economies. Some analysts argue that these tariffs could drive inflation higher, making everyday goods more expensive for American consumers. Others believe that U.S. businesses, particularly in the agricultural and manufacturing sectors, will bear the brunt of these countermeasures. Despite these concerns, the EU has made it clear that it will not back down. European leaders argue that the tariffs are necessary to protect economic independence and secure long-term interests. The EU believes that by standing firm, it can strengthen its position in global trade and ensure that its industries are not unfairly targeted by U.S. policies. However, the big question remains, will this lead to further escalation? If the U.S. decides to retaliate with additional tariffs, the global economy could face significant instability. EU unity, a critical factor in the trade dispute. While the European Union has demonstrated a united front in response to the U.S. tariffs, there are internal concerns. Major economies like Germany and France have expressed worry about how a prolonged trade war could impact their industries. Germany, in particular, is highly dependent on exports to the U.S., especially in the automotive sector. If the trade war continues, German car manufacturers could face serious losses. France, another key player, has its own concerns about the agricultural sector, which is heavily reliant on trade with the U.S. Despite these worries, EU leaders have emphasized the importance of unity. They argue that if the EU does not stand together, individual nations will.